Welcome to the Smith Publicity, all things book marketing podcast. The best tips, insights, and advice from the best in the publishing industry.
Okay, this is Dan Smith, and I'm speaking with Jonathan Pellegrin. That's the right pronunciation, right? And so Jonathan is a new client who'll be starting in about 2 weeks, or a week and a half or so. And
it's up to you. You've got the money.
True. And we just had a meeting, a kickoff meeting with myself and Mike Honorato, our director of publicity, and Mallory Campoli, who will be leading Jonathan's campaign. I came up with an idea to do something new, and we're kind of a real-time case study. And so Jonathan's initial agreement with us is for 2 months. And so what we're going to do is talk just briefly today about how Jonathan feels about the meeting today and what he hopes for or is looking for from the team and in results in the coming 2 months. And then halfway through the campaign, we can do it through Skype next time. Jonathan's here in person today, and he came in from California, which is awesome, to meet with the team. So halfway through, we'll do another brief talk to see how you think things are going. And then for better or worse, at the end of 2 months, I'm very confident it'll go well, but if Jonathan is mad as hell at us, then we will do another interview, and I promise it will be broadcast together. So this podcast session will go on its own. The second one will include this one and the second one, and then the last one, whether you're mad as hell or happy as could be, the third one will be added, and my guarantee to Jonathan is it will be published. So it's a little risky, and I don't know that Mike and Mallory appreciated it so much, but that's what I decided to do. So Jonathan, first of all, I want to give you some promotion. Tell us about your book. At least tell us what your book is, and then we'll go from there. So what's the name of your book?
The name of my book is The Art of Selling the Family Business. And the mission, as far as I'm concerned, is to have it be a wake-up call for families that own companies that have always thought, this is what we do, we're not thinking about selling it. And we're running the company, we're really operators, but we're not stewards of the assets. We don't think about the value of the business beyond what it provides as an operating unit. And so I want to change the narrative a little bit so that people that own businesses stop and periodically do an assessment of what is the value of this company. And that's what my board of directors did for me early. They were peripheral. They didn't have something substantive to do. And I never, the way that they are but then my directors caused me periodically to discuss the value of our company and to discuss the outlook for our company and to discuss my family's role in it. And even though my children were younger, if I thought they had any capabilities or interests in going into it. So it was almost like they were preparing me for being a really good steward of the assets, so that when I went from being an operator to the point of considering the possible sale, I'd had a lot of education along the way.
And so you have the background, obviously. You're from your own family business, from your father. So there's a lot of great insights in the book. It really applies to any business owner, not just a pure family business. And one of the key things we talked about in the meeting is, one of the many key things is that for any business owner, knowing when to get out. as you say, the Kenny Rogers, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And it's a mistake a lot of companies make, or business owners make, is getting out too late. You self-published?
Self-published.
Through CreateSpace.
Yeah, but actually, one of the members of my thesis committee is John Davis at Harvard Business School. And he has a consulting firm, Cambridge Advisors, and has an institute. And his institute does publish books. And so he was helping me, and he said, "We'd like to publish your book."
And it came out under that imprint then.
Right.
So the name of the imprint is?
It's Cambridge Institute for Family Enterprise.
So it's like
I would call it quasi. Yeah.
That's interesting. And it's available now for sale, right?
It is.
On Amazon?
It is, but it's not ready to be promoted. I'm just getting the...
but if anybody hearing this, they could buy it now.
Yeah, they can buy it now. It's on Amazon.
So what just briefly, how did you feel about the meeting today? You flew all the way in from California just to meet with us. How did you feel about the team? And this is all about honesty. Just how did you feel about the meeting?
Okay, number one, I had never worked with a publicist. I mean, we were publishers, and I'm sure that publicists and PR people sent things to our editors and so forth. But so I didn't know anything about publicists. So my son-in-law, who's the director of the Portland Art Museum, told me a while back, I don't know, several months ago now, "John, you ought to get a publicist." And I said, "Well, what the hell is a publicist?" I've heard of PR firms, but a publicist, I didn't know exactly what that meant. And he kind of explained it, and I said, "Well, I wouldn't even know where to start." And he told me some things that publicists did for art museums, which is his field, and he was the president of the American Association of Museum Directors.
Now, did he refer you directly to us? Or
yeah, he sent us 9 names.
That he researched? That
he had gotten recommendations from people, principally in New York.
Oh, great.
And so he sent me a list of 9 names. So being a dutiful son-in-law and wanting to get a high grade and evaluation of publicists, I called every single one of them and interviewed them over the phone. Some of them, of course, turned me down right away, but I had pretty complete conversations with 6 or 7 of them. And then narrowed it down to 2, of which Smith Publicity was one. And I was impressed with what appeared to be your depth, your client list, your website, the way that you talked about the things that you did, the testimonials. I mean, it was... You were experienced, and there was a lot of proof of performance there, and I think that I always say there are 3 things in a sales presentation. Number 1 is a product story. Number 2 is proof of performance, because it's one thing for you to tell me how good you are. It's another thing for a third party to tell me how good you are. And then third, product story, company story. I haven't done this for a long time. First, it's the company story. Who are you? What is your organization? What's the competency of your people, the experience? Then it's the product story, and then it's proof of performance. Okay, so I was impressed with your company story. I was impressed with your website, and you had people that had experience. I was really impressed, and I think I told you that, about your white paper, or what should I call it? Your thing that talks about what a publicist.
Okay, yeah, I think I know.
I mean, it's like 30 pages. I mean, it's something, and then your proposal was a few pages.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That was impressive, because that was your product story.
Right.
And then you had excellent proof of performance.
And so today, when you finally get
to
meet us in person, what are your thoughts?
Good. I mean, it was a good meeting. I wanted to come out here. I wanted to meet you, and we were starting the relationship. And
it's always nice to meet face to face.
Yeah, every encounter that I've had with you has been positive, and sometimes I can get carried away with my newest best friend, and I don't have time to do that anymore. Yeah. So I tend to check people out very carefully. And I wanted to see how the chemistry worked, and frankly, the other firm that I was leaning toward had seen the book and said, "God, that's a horrible cover, and we need to redo that, and we need to do yada yada yada, and we're gonna, give you a platinum position," and it was a lot of stuff about how phenomenal they were gonna be. And on the first assignment, I mean, it was one of the worst cases of overpromising and underdelivering that I'd ever seen, and so I just said,
"Well, you were worried about them underdelivering." You were worried about them under-delivering.
Yeah, well, they had under-delivered, and the first thing that they did, I said, "Okay, you want the book to look different? Send me some cover ideas. Do you do that?" And so they priced that out and sent me the cover ideas, and I didn't
like them?
None of them. I mean, they were, I'll show them to you sometime. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
And so we redid our cover from what you'd seen before, and I think it represents a nice improvement. And
it does. Yeah, and I think we had talked about the cover early on. And I like the concept. And
it looks professional.
Yeah.
And so,
so what?
So I felt good about, I felt good about you. I mean, as I said earlier, you educated me in every conversation, to the point of my wanting to engage you in this advisory work, and I never once felt like I was being sold. I felt like I was making the decision. I was a very astute buyer.
Yeah, and with your experience, you certainly know business, and that's how we try to do it. Not just me, but our whole business development team is. It's a very consultative sales approach in this business. It has to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll talk with prospective clients for a year off and on, and just we have no problem spending some time talking with them every now and then, answer questions, and it's just the way it works. You develop a bond and confidence, and hopefully many of them end up then engaging our services. But if they don't, that's okay too. It's I think if you treat people well, then only good things can happen. Whether you get their business or not, they're going to say nice things about you to other people. It's just the best approach, So
when I was in Switzerland, I had a conversation. Somebody from Wiley was there to meet with another professor that was in the process of finishing a book, was working with them. And I was introduced to him and talked about my dissertation that I was working on at the time, and that I planned to turn it into a book. And they said, "Oh, wow, that sounds great. That's exactly the kind of thing that we'd like to have." So when you introduced Mike today, and he was from Wiley, I mean, I thought, this was good. So I was going to, I got the information for submitting my proposal to Wiley, but John Davis had said, I really want to have this as part of our organization, and he gives lectures to thousands of people every year, right. and it's an outlet. He sells a lot of books, and it'll be given out at the Generation to Generation program at both Harvard and Beijing, and it's a start, and that's a nice cachet. And having the endorsement of John, and he wrote a foreword that I would have paid a lot of money for that, because he was establishing my position in something that I'd hoped for, and so that was good.
So we're going to talk again in a month, and we'll talk honestly and forthrightly about how things have gone in the first month. I will talk about what I've liked, what I think is lacking. I'll be very transparent. We'll get your thoughts, and then on how you feel things are going. And then again, as I said at the beginning, at the end of your 2 months with us, we will talk again, and I'll give my assessment of the campaign. And again, you probably won't see any other publicity firm do this, but I will give an honest assessment. And if I do not think it went as well as it should have, believe it or not, I will say that.
Great.
And I've done that before, never publicly on a podcast that's going to be, we have a fair amount of listeners, but I have no problem doing it. No campaign goes perfectly. The vast majority of ours go very well. But when I assess campaigns, there's always something that I would have liked to see, no matter the best campaigns ever. If we get great things, I always want more. I always say to publicists, if you got this, you should be able to get that, So it'll be an interesting conversation. So, and then I'll, as I said, I will take this initial podcast, and then after the second one, I'll splice these two together, and then the third one will have a running,
Right.
so people get the full testament of full feel of how everything went. And again, my promise is, however Jonathan feels at the end, it will be broadcast on the podcast, unedited, and that's my promise. So it would be really interesting, and maybe a first ever. I don't know. Maybe a first ever done.
So that said, naturally, I had some ideas as we were having the conversation with Mallory and you and Mike, and I've got a few thoughts of things that I want to run by you that I could do, or you could do, or we could do together.
Yeah,
that would get us exposure and also sell books.
And that's it's one thing that we talk about in our materials is we absolutely want it to be
a collaborative effort.
A collaborative effort, and we really mean that. And those are ideas that you'll be discussing with us and Mallory and Mike and me. I will still maintain involvement in this, obviously. So yeah, we want as we get going or get closer, we want to have those conversations, get your ideas, and we have no problem. I mean, if you come up with a great idea that ends up working great, we're that. Just because it wasn't our idea, well, we don't care.
Okay, but I hope the other thing is, if I give you an idea that just sucks,
we'll tell you.
Okay, good.
Now, we may not say it sucks, but we may.
It can. I want you to be brutally frank.
Well,
okay.
I one of my issues is I'm known to use the F word too often, but I promise I will not use it in assessing your idea. I will not.
I used the F word once today, didn't I? Huh?
You did. It made me very comfortable. So,
okay.
But yeah, we will diplomatically tell you if we don't think an idea will work.
Okay, good.
So, Jonathan, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
And I said we'll talk in a month, but actually the campaign begins, I think, the 10th of July. So it'll be a bit more than a month, but around August 10th. And again, right now, if you want to buy Jonathan's book, I'm a publicist. If I didn't promote you, I wouldn't be doing my job. It's a great book for any business owner. It's called The Art of Selling the Family Business. And I recommend, as an entrepreneur, I've read it. I love it. And it doesn't have to be a real family business. It can be, but really great insights from a man who knows what he's talking about. So I would suggest you go to Amazon and buy it. And again, thanks for your time, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Smith Publicity, all things book marketing podcast. To reach us and learn about our many book marketing services, visit www.smithpublicity.com or send us an email to info@smithpublicity.com.